Okay, hi girls. This is just in relation to the 2008 question that you're going to attempt. So when you go to calculate the figure for administration expenses, in this case, what you'll first do is you'll get administration expenses from the trial balance, 160,000, and then you'll add certain other administration expenses onto that figure. So what they're saying really is that they've bunched a whole bunch of admin expenses together here, but there are others also which are separate that you're going to have to add on. Okay, so there's just one thing in particular that I want to go through because it's kind of difficult concept to understand. So excuse me, I've just made up a kind of a hypothetical scenario here that 160,000 from here is made up of a number of different figures here, okay, a number of different expenses, okay. Now I've put one in here that isn't an expense, so I've said that it's made up of repairs, plumbing, postage, and this patent royalties. Okay, the reason I've said that is because this is something that comes up quite often in this question, where they say included in admin expenses is the receipt of 8,000 for patent royalties. Okay, so patent royalties are if you came up with an idea and you patented that idea and then you allowed somebody else to use that idea, you charge them a fee which is called royalties. So if you came up with a new type of phone or something like that, and you allowed Apple to manufacture this phone, they'd have to pay you for the privilege of using that idea, and that payment is known as a royalty. So obviously patent royalties, if you're receiving them, they are a gain as opposed to an expense. So they shouldn't be in administration expenses. So here's the thing though, they shouldn't be in administration expenses, and you would think straight away that means I should subtract the 8,000 to take them out of the admin expenses figure. But in actual fact, what you're supposed to do is you're supposed to add them on, and we'll see why here. So if we see admin expenses is in the trial balance minus is 160,000, I've put it in as a minus because it's an expense. Okay, and I've made up that it's made up of repairs, which is an expense, plumbing, which is an expense, postage, which is an expense, and I've put them all as in minuses, and then included in it is royalties, but royalties is a gain, so included in it is this plus 8,000 here, not an expense. I don't have the brackets around it. Okay, so when I add the four of them together, I've minus 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 coming to minus 168 plus 8,000 gives me the minus 160. Okay, but what's happening here really is that the figure should have been, the royalties shouldn't have been included in with expenses, so the figure should have been, if I just took those three, it should have been 160,000 for admin expenses. But how do I change this 160 into, sorry, it should have been 168 rather if I didn't have this. How do I change this 160 into 168? Well, I have to take that 160 figure over here from the trial balance and I have to add 8,000 onto it, don't I? We know it's a minus figure even though it doesn't show as a minus here because it's an expense. So because you, if you like, you added a plus onto a whole bunch of minus figures in order to get rid of it or to take it away from the admin expenses, we actually have to add 8,000. It's like we're adding a minus 8,000 onto a minus 160 in order to get back to what the admin expenses figure ought to have been in the first place. So you will see, when you see the workings for administration expenses, you'll see this plus 8,000 that you might be confused about, and it's the plus 8,000 for these patent royalties, and you're adding them on in order to remove them from the administration expenses. Okay, it's kind of tough to think about, but if there's any questions, please do ask about them.